Right now, you probably have some money sitting in your bank account, and leaving it there feels safe. But money that's just sitting in a bank is actually losing value. Every year, it buys you a little bit less because of the cost of everything around us keep going up. So the real question isn't whether you should invest it. It is how much of it should you be investing? And it is where most people get stuck because they don't know the number, so they're guessing, and then at the end they just end up hoping that it's gonna be enough. But the number was never a guess. It was never just some random percentage of your income. It all comes down to one specific number, which is your specific number, the money that you need to be able to retire financially free. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly what yours is. Now, I will be upfront with you. At the very top end, that number is around $10 million. And that might sound like a lot at first, but that's the goal, and that's not where you're starting right now. The math works exactly the same whether your number is $2 million or 10. So stick with me because there's one more decision that matters even more than the number itself, and most people don't even realize that they are making it. My name is Zack Bakos, and I'm a wealth management and financial planning professional. And I have been investing for about 10 years. I've grown my own investment portfolio into the millions, and I've also coached over 2,000 high net worth investors. So everything that I'm about to show you is actually something that I have done myself. Now, before I give you that number that I mentioned before, there's one thing that you need to understand. Building wealth is a lot like building a fire. Your income is the wood, and the money you earn is what you add to the pile yourself. Your investments are the fire. The money that you've already put in is growing and giving off heat on its own. Now, early on, your fire is going to be small, and you have to keep feeding it. But if you keep adding wood, over time, it grows into a huge roaring fire. But here's the problem. Most people spend their whole life earning wood and just wasting it. They are good at making money, but they spend almost all of it and barely add anything to the fire. So the fire never really gets going. And if you want a really big fire, you can't just sit on the bench getting cold while everybody else is staying warm, investing into the markets. You have to keep adding wood. So let me show you how I would actually set this up based on a conversation that I recently had with one of my clients. He runs an online education business and makes about $350,000 a year. And he had about $500,000 just sitting in his savings account doing nothing. But his question wasn't how much should I invest? His question was, first of all, like, Zach, how do I even structure my money? And the things that he was confused about are probably very relatable to what you're dealing with right now as well. So his questions were, how much of it should go toward investing? What should he even invest in? And how does he know how to set these things up the right way? So if any of that sounds familiar to you, then this part is for you. Now, you split your money into 3 buckets. Each has its own purpose. Bucket 1 is an emergency fund. The purpose of this money is not to be invested. The purpose of this money is that if something bad comes up in your life, you can solve it by throwing money at it. So it's just money that's just sitting there ready for the moment something goes wrong, that you can handle it without touching any of the other investments that you have. The common best practice is 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Personally, I keep closer to 6 to 12 months in a high yield savings account so that if the moment comes up where I need it, again, I can just touch it and don't worry about the rest of my capital. Bucket 2 is your income. Income is kind of like the wood for the fire. So the truth here is very simple. The more you add, the faster it's going to grow. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine there are 2 people earning the same income. The first one invests 10% of what they earn every month, and the second one invests 30% of what they earn. The second person is building a fire that's roughly 3 times bigger just by adding more wood over time. They have the same income, but they have very different results. So take a second and think about your own situation. How much of your income are you actually putting towards investments right now? How consistent are you with that? And be honest with yourself. So let me know in the comments because I would like to hear where you are at. And a quick note, if you run a business, keep that money separate from your personal money. If you have cash sitting in a business account for business purposes, there's not necessarily money for investment purpose. But the idea is essentially the same. What matters is how much you put to work every single month for investment purposes. And that brings us to bucket 3, which is the investment portfolio itself. This is the fire itself, where everything you add can turn into real wealth in the long term. And this is the bucket that can become the retirement freedom money, $10 million for the rest of your life. So this one matters more than the other two combined, because it comes down to two things. One, how well you build this fire at the start, and how well you manage this fire over time. Because if you get those things right, the fire can grow as big as you want it. But if you get the foundation wrong, put money into the wrong things, it won't matter how much wood you're adding, because it's very likely that you're never going to get there. So think of this as like the foundation. Just like you can't build a skyscraper on the foundation of a small house, because why? It's going to collapse eventually. So if your goal is $10 million, build the right foundation from the start. And the first place of that foundation is knowing exactly what you're building toward. So let's figure that number out together. Let me tell you a story about two investors, and I think you will find this very relatable. Two people have the same starting point. Person one says, my goal is to get to a $10 million retirement portfolio, and I will do whatever it takes. The second person will say, hey, I don't really need that much. I'm just gonna aim for 2.5 million, and that's fine for me, and I'm gonna plan for that. Now, the second person does so well 20 days later that he has actually achieved $3.5 million in his portfolio. So he has technically overachieved his goal by 30%. But the other person, he's such a sore loser. He has only achieved $7.5 million, essentially missing his goal by $2.5 million. But who is the real loser at the end of the story? The person who aimed at 10 but failed and ended up in 7.5 million, or the person who aimed at 2.5 and overachieved? The one who aimed high and missed still ended up with almost double with the one who aimed low and technically won. But that's the whole point. You try to aim high. And the rule is simple. Take the yearly income that you want to live on and multiply it by 25. So let's say for $10 million, that's $400,000. For $5 million, that's $200,000 a year to live off. And a portfolio that size can pay you that income for life without ever really touching your initial capital. But most people are doing this backwards because they ask themselves, how much should I invest before they have decided on the actual goal itself? But you do it the other way around. So the goal first, then work backwards from the numbers. So for the rest of this video, I'm just going to use an example to portray this with $10 million. Again, if you have different goals and numbers, you can just input your own number into the flow of these calculations. How much do you actually need to invest every single month to get there? It comes down to two things. One, how much money you put in and how good you become as an investor to manage that portfolio, aka how much returns can you generate with that investment portfolio with the money that you have. So let's first start with $200,000 and that you invest $1,000 a month. As a consecutive return that grows steadily. Now watch what happens when you turn up both dials. You raise that to $3,000 a month instead of $1,000 a month invested. And you get better and stop making mistakes that cost people a lot of money in this journey and setbacks in how fast your money is growing. Now your money works a little harder, closer to what the market has averaged over the long term. They have the same starting point, same 20 years, but the difference between those two outcomes is more than $2 million. So let that sink in. The same start, the same amount of time. The only thing that changed is that how much you put in on a monthly basis and how good can you get at actually managing that investment portfolio. The difference was more than $2 million for the case of this example. Now, to be clear, I'm not promising these returns right now on these videos because nobody can. The market does what it does. It's just historical returns and data that has happened over hundreds of years of stock market history. But this is the real answer to how much you should be investing and the real framework of how I would be thinking about it as the best practices. It's never about a percentage, it's about a specific number that you want to get to and how much you need to be contributing monthly every single month to actually get there. By the way, I will also leave this free calculator in the description below so you can make the calculations on your own. So now you have your number and there's just one decision left. And this is the most important one. What kind of an investor are you going to be? Now there are two paths here. Generally, neither one of them is wrong. You have to see which one fits best for your lifestyle and the kind of investor that you want to become. The first path is the path of a passive investor. Now, this one can be mostly hands-off, but there's a small part that a lot of people miss here is that it's only hands-off once this structure is set up the right way. And once it is, it's basically your money goes in every month into simple investments that track the overall market, and you basically just leave it alone, just keep putting more logs to the fire. So getting this set up right is the biggest part that matters here. Is something that also we teach in very much detail at Rose Tree, how to set this up correctly. But once it's done, it's basically done. All you have to focus on is making more money so you can put some of that money into your investment portfolio and do it long enough, you will see progress toward your long-term goal. The second path is the path of an active investor. This is someone who wants to actively beat the market and not just to match it. And I'll be honest with you, that means becoming a completely different version of yourself. I had a client who had been trading for about 4 months, and she's like, I'm so frustrated. I haven't, outperformed the market yet. And so I asked, have you played any sports before? And she was like, yeah, I play basketball. Cool. So imagine you just joined a basketball team and it's the first time you've ever played. Maybe you threw a few balls in the court before, but that's it. And you're 4 months in and you're wondering why you're not the best player in the league yet. But you can't even dribble properly yet. You can't even throw properly yet. The fundamentals are not even there for you to outperform the market. And that's the same thing when investing. Before you chase the big risky plays, you have to learn the basics and how to pick better investments, how to structure your portfolio, when to buy, when to wait, what are the best investments in the coming 12 months? Because if you don't actually get better, you will not be beating a simply buy and hold passive investing approach. And that's just the reality. But the people who are willing to put in that work, who genuinely want to learn this, that's exactly the kind of people who I work with. So the real answer to one of the most common questions in personal finance, and notice, it's not just a random percentage, it really comes down to just two things. One, the wood that you are putting in is your income, and the fire it builds, which is your investments doing the work. So figure out your number, put in as much towards it as you can consistently, and decide what kind of an investor that you want to be. And if you would like help putting all of this together, you can book a call with my team using the link below. I also put together a full $10 million roadmap in the description, completely free, which just contains the best practices so you can see which stage of the wealth building journey you're at and what are some of the most important things that we have seen the fastest growing investors that we have worked with do as kind of best practices. So go ahead and grab it.